President Erdogan, thank you for talking to Bloomberg. Let's begin with the economy. Turkey, as you know, relies on foreign investors. You have a lot of foreign investors watching at the moment. Earlier today, the central bank cut interest rates by another 25 basis points. In the past, you have often called for the interest rates to be lower. I know the central bank is independent, but are you happier with the current level of interest rates?
Öncelikle şu anda ekranları başında bizi izleyen
First, I would like to greet the viewers in front of their television. I would like to salute them all with my most heartfelt emotions. It is very beneficial that we had the opportunity to get together and have this interview. I see the last central bank cut as a steady, careful, and balanced cut.
Bu son yapmış olduğu indirimi yine istikrarlı, dikkatli.
Because it's not right to make sudden moves up or down that could contain some violence, that could create a tremor in the economy. But I believe it will be beneficial to continue this steadily. And right now, this new administration of the central bank, since they took office, they've been carrying out a cut, taking into consideration especially the interest rate policies of the government. And I think this is an important signal, especially for investors. My hope is that the other banks will take this signal that the central bank has given, that they also heed it, and accordingly that they open the way for investors.
Merkez Bankası'nın vermiş olduğu bu sinyali onlar da önemsesin ve buna göre de yatırımcıların önünü açsınlar.
You are an economist. Surely you're a bit worried by inflation is at 8%. Is that really a time to cut interest rates? I know that when you came in, inflation was much higher. It was 70%. But still, 8% is a lot higher than other countries. Surely cutting interest rates is a bit dangerous.
Aslında Türkiye'de iktidara
Actually, in Turkey, before we took over the office, we had seen inflation exceed 3 digits. When we took over the office, the inflation was very high. It was around 30%, and then the interest rates used to be around 63%. And after we took over, the official inflation rate started going down. And throughout the Gezi protests, the interest rates reached 4.6%. And the interest rates at that low level and the real interest rate being at that level pulled inflation down. Let me say something. I don't see inflation as being inversely correlated with interest rates. It's exactly the opposite. I see inflation and interest rates as directly correlated. If you raise interest rates, inflation will rise that much. However much you cut interest rates, inflation will start to fall with that. For my 14 years as Prime Minister and then President, I followed this, and I've seen this. When we've seen banks raise rates, inflation has gone up. But when we've cut them, inflation has gone down. And even now, when I look at the measures being taken, if inflation is falling, it's because interest rates are falling. Otherwise, these things about the basket and so on, these aren't things that impact this issue so much. This is my belief.
Bu benim inancım. Ben de böyle buna inanıyorum ve bu konudaki tespitlerimin neticesini de aldık.
That sounds to me as if you would like interest rates to come lower still. If you think that the lower interest rates get, the lower inflation gets, it would be better if interest rates went down even further. I know a lot of economists disagree with that, but is that what you think?
Ben size burada en önemli örneği vereyim.
I'm going to give you the most outstanding example in that regard. If we consider interest rates having a different nature from one country to another, that would be a wrong of a perception. Looking at the interest rates in the United States, it's around 0.5%. And when you look at the European countries, the interest rates are around 1% or 1.5%.
Japonya eksi.
And in Japan, the interest rates are negative.
Ülkelere baktığımız
And in these
zaman
countries, if interest rates are that low,
Türkiye'de niçin
why should rates be 13, 14, 15% in Turkey?
siz faiz oranlarını
However high you hold interest rates in a country,
o ülkedeki
you remove that much
yatırımı
investment from that country.
o denli ortadan kaldırırsınız. Yatırımın
In a
olmadığı
country
bir
where there's
ülkede
no
bir defa
investment,
kalkınmayı
we can't talk about
konuşamayız.
development.
Yatırımların olduğu bir
We can
ülkede
only talk about
kalkınmayı
development in a country where there's investment.
Bu kadar zorlamamıza
Although we've been
rağmen
pushing this
şu
issue,
anda yatırımlarda hala
we still haven't seen
istediğimiz
the speed
istikrar veyahut da
and
hız
stability
yok.
in investments we wish to
Halbuki
see.
faiz düşük olmuş
If
olsa,
interests were
ben
low,
inanıyorum ki yatırımcı
investors would get credit
hemen bu
immediately
konuda kredisini
and
çekecek
start to
ve
invest.
yatırımını yapacaktır. Ama yüksek
When interest
olduğu
rates are
zaman
high,
bu yatırımı
they cannot
yapmaları da
invest.
mümkün değildir. Ve şu anda buna rağmen
Right now,
bizim
despite
yatırımcımız
this,
yatırım
our
yapıyor.
investors are making
Diyorum ki,
investments.
İşte örnek Amerika,
I say let's look at America as an example,
örnek
Europe,
Japonya.
Japan,
Buralara bakalım.
and
Ona
accordingly,
göre de bizler
let's bring interest
faiz
rates
oranında
as low as possible.
mümkün olduğunca bunu aşağı çekelim.
What about the currency? The currency is down by about 40% since 2013. It's one reason why the economy is smaller in dollar terms than it was. But you seem to be a supporter of a lower currency, but are you happy again with the current level against the dollar particularly?
Şimdi aslında yani kurlarda
There hasn't been the kind of explosion in the currency that some people were expecting, even after the coup attempt.
Yine kurlar kendini korudu. Tabii bizim
Our hope
temennimiz
is that
daha düşük
it should
olsun.
be lower.
Ama şu anda
It's not
bu
at the
istenilen
level
noktada
desired,
değil. Fakat
but
çok
those who were expecting it to
patlayacak
crash,
ürünler de buradan beklenen
they didn't get the
neticeyi
result
onlar
they
da
wanted.
alamadılar. Öyle bir durum
If
da
we
söz
preserve the
konusu
stability
olmadı. Şu
and if the
anda
Turkish
bu istikrar
currency
korunur.
gets a little bit
Biraz
more
daha
valuable,
TL değerini
I believe in
korumak
Turkey,
suretiyle süreç devam
growth in
ederse,
economy,
ben inanıyorum ki
let me
Türkiye'de
elaborate,
ekonomideki büyüme,
within
mesela
the
şimdi,
first 6 months,
ilk
the growth rate in
6
Turkey
ayda,
is quite satisfactory,
büyüme oranı
3.8%.
gayet iyi bir konumda, 3,8.
This is much better than the
Bu şu anda
primary
Avrupa'nın
economies of the European
yani
Union.
bilinmeyen ülkelerinde böyle bir büyüme
Turkey has
oranı
grown pretty much
yok.
29
Ve
quarters.
Türkiye
We have never
yani
experienced
29
negative growth for the
çeyrekte
last 29
devamlı
quarters.
hep büyümüş.
This is a very important
Eksi
indicator
asla hiç yok.
because we have fiscal
Bu
discipline all
önemli
the
bir
time.
gösterge.
There is
Niye?
stability and there is
Mali
confidence in the markets
devamlı var.
to which we have
Bir
attached
defa
great
istikrar,
significance.
güven,
We have
hep
protected
dikkat ettik.
stability
İstikrar
and
ve
we have
güveni
protected the
koruduğumuz
confidence.
için,
We
mali
abided by the
disiplinle
rule
de
of fiscal
hareket
discipline.
ettiğimiz için
That's
hem
why the
yatırımcı
investors
hükmedi,
didn't
hem
get
de
scared.
büyüme
And although we
oranında
are not always at the desired
istenilen
level,
seviyede
we are still
olmasa
strong,
da
3.8% on an average
şu andaki
basis,
3,8'lik
especially in the aftermath
oranı
of the failed
yine
coup.
bu darbe sonrası ortamda bile yakalamış olduk.
What about your favourite subject, the credit ratings? At the moment there is this fear that Turkey will get pushed down to below investment grade. Do you worry, in the old days, Ali Babacan and people like that, Turkey used to be a place, the government used to encourage saving. Now the government is encouraging consumers to go and borrow, to go and spend. And that is something that worries foreign investors. And that might hurt the credit rating. Does that worry you?
Şimdi o bana
I think
göre
that's a
o
very
çok
wrong
çok
approach.
yanlış bir yaklaşım.
Our central bank reserves are
Şu an bizim
$123
Merkez
billion.
Bankamızın
When we
döviz
came to
rezervi,
power, it was
son
$28 billion, and we owe the IMF $23.5 billion. We paid off the debt, and when I left the premiership, the reserves were up to $136 billion. Of course, we need to improve this figure, and the central bank administration, the current administration, will take the necessary measures in order to increase our reserves even more. I think like that, rating agencies are getting it wrong, because these credit rating agencies around the world, if we set aside some exceptions, they're making political statements. For example, while they're raising economies that have collapsed, that are finished, on the other hand, they're either freezing or going towards cutting a country that's standing on its feet, that's upright, and where the investments are continuing. This is not a respectable stance. These credit rating agencies should definitely not act politically. This is contrary to economic ethics. Whatever the situation is, that's what they have to announce. And I, in my period of Prime Minister, I said this very openly. I'm also saying it in my presidency. Be honest. I'm inviting them to be honest. And whether you're honest or not, Turkey's economy is strong in any case. It's standing upright, and it will continue to stand upright.
That sounds to me as if you still don't think the rating agencies are getting it right, that the rating agencies have got it wrong.
O konuda öyleyim, öyle düşünüyorum. Çünkü dünyadaki bu kredi kuruluşları, şöyle istisnalarını bir kenara koyarsak, bir defa politik açıklamalar yapıyorlar. Mesela çökmüş, bitmiş ekonomileri yükseltirken, öbür tarafta diri duran, ayakta duran, yatırımlarına devam eden bir ülkeyle ilgili bakıyorsunuz ya donduruyor veyahut da şöyle kıl payı da olsa düşürme yoluna gidiyor. Bu saygın bir duruş değil. Bir defa kredi derecelendirme kuruluşlarının kesinlikle siyasi davranmaması lazım. Bu bir defa ekonomik etiğe de aykırıdır. Olması gereken neyse bunu açıklamaları lazım. Bunu açıklamıyorlar. Bu yanlış bir şey. Ve ben de yani başbakanlığım döneminde de bunu çok açık söyledim. Cumhurbaşkanlığım döneminde de söylüyorum. Dürüst olun diyorum. Onları dürüstlüğe davet ediyorum. Dürüst olsanız da olmasanız da Türkiye ekonomisi zaten güçlü, dimdik ayakta ve ayakta durmaya da devam edecek.
But it sounds like you wouldn't care if Turkey was downgraded because these agencies have just simply got it wrong.
Hiç umursamıyorum.
I don't care at all.
Bazıları yanlış.
They're making mistakes and they're doing it intentionally. You look at places where the economy is finished, has collapsed, and they raise it 4 levels at once. You know which countries. I don't have to say. But even though Turkey has never had such troubles, you look at Turkey and they freeze the rating. Such a thing is unacceptable. That's not honesty.
Can we talk about a more serious, a bigger problem for you, which was the attempted coup of 10 weeks ago? You have consistently said that coup was organized by Fethullah Gulen, who lives in Pennsylvania. On the way from here to Washington, you could almost fly over him. Do you think any part of the United States government, and by that I mean the CIA, the State Department, or any part of the US government, had any role in that, knew anything about it before it started?
Şimdi yani bu darbe girişiminden önce bunu bilirler veya bilmezler.
It doesn't interest me whether they knew or not before the coup.
Ama bizim darbeden
What's important
sonraki
is
süreç
the period after
çok
the coup.
Şimdi halkım benim şunu soruyor.
My people are asking this.
Bir referanduma gitsek,
If we went to a referendum
desek ki
and
bu
we
darbe
said,
girişiminin arkasında kim var?
who's behind this coup?
Halkımın vereceği cevap,
The answer my people would give is FETÖ.
peki FETÖ nerede?
Okay, where's FETÖ?
Amerika'da.
In America.
Kaç yıldır burada?
How many years has he been there? He's been there for 17 years.
Üst yönetimden
And about a year and a half ago,
önce
I told the highest level of the administration, there's a guy like this, that he's the head of a terrorist organization.
örgütünün başı olduğunu
And I said,
ve bununla
either
ilgili
give him to
olarak
us or
ya bize
deport him.
verin ya deport edin demişimdir. Ve şimdi tabii
We sent 85 boxes of
15
documents
Temmuz
to American
darbe girişimi
authorities.
olduğu zaman biz tabii bütün ilişki
Then
ağımızı
there's the
hemen
process
ilerleterek
after July 15.
17-25
Now those are also being
Aralık
prepared.
sürecinden önceki
Recently,
bu
American officials
yargı
came.
polis
They met with
darbesidir.
officials from our justice ministry,
bütün
and these
belgeleri
documents related to this new
toparladık ve
process have been
85
given
koli olarak
or they're being given.
Amerika'nın yetkili
Despite all
mercilerine
this,
gönderdik.
This man is here,
Bir de 15
he's in
Temmuz'dan
Pennsylvania,
sonraki süreç var. Şimdi de
and also
onlar
he's been given a green card.
geçenlerde
He's being held
yetkililer
here.
geldi.
Can a
Adalet
green card
Bakanlığı'nda
not be cancelled?
yetkililerimizle
Can it not?
görüştüler. Ve şimdi de bu yeni sürecin belgeleri kendilerine verildi veya veriliyor. Şimdi bütün bunlara rağmen ve bu adam burada, Pensilvanya'da. Kendisine bir de green card verilmiş. Burada tutuluyor. Şimdi green card iptal edilemiyor mu? Böyle bir şey yok mu? Green card'ını da iptal edersin.
Do you think this is the behavior of an ally? Turkey is an ally, a military ally of America, and they are harboring, as you see it, the man who's responsible for the coup?
Biz zaten üzen bu.
This is what's
Ya
making
bugüne
us
kadar
sad.
yaptınız.
But now all the
Ama şu
documents,
anda
for example,
bütün
testimonies have been
belgeler,
given,
mesela
and the
ifadeler
orderly
verildi.
officer to our chief of
Alınan
staff
ifadelerde
has said
bu
that
işin
Pennsylvania
başının
is behind this.
Pensilvanya'da olduğunu
And
Genelkurmay
a general there,
Başkanımızın
he even
emir
said,
subayı
if
söylüyor.
you want, we can let you
Hatta
speak with our
orada bir
thought leader,
general, o da
Fethullah
diyor ki,
Gulen.
"İsterseniz sizi
To
kanaat
whom? To the chief
önderiniz
of staff.
Fethullah Gülen'le
All of this is
görüştürelim
in the
diyor. Kime?
records.
Genelkurmay
So
Başkanı.
what are we going to prove?
Bunlar şimdi hepsi kayıtlarda var.
And we've sent all this to
Daha
American
neyi biz
authorities.
ispat
We're
edeceğiz
sending
ki?
it.
Ve bütün bunların hepsini biz Amerika'daki yetkililere
We
gönderdik.
have such a history. For example, America said to us, catch these 10 terrorists and give them over. We're together, right? We have solidarity. So we caught them, and after catching them, we delivered them to America. So now the same thing, we want the head of this organization, who's in our strategic documents, and we're your strategic partner. We're together in NATO. We want him, give him to us, and let us try him. Let's do what's needed. But they said, the court is going to decide. I'm sorry, but we can't wait for these kind of decisions from these kinds of courts, because this crime wasn't committed in the US. It was committed in Turkey. So let us make the decision.
What about do you need, in a sense, a plan B on this? You are a very practical man, Mr. President. You can read the leaks, you can read all the press statements about this, and it looks as if he is perhaps unlikely to come. If America does not extradite him, would you think of retaliating in some other way? What could you do to force America?
Yani bunu biraz zamana bırakmakta fayda var.
It's useful to give it a little time, but you know, no country can have plans without alternatives. If it has an A plan, it definitely has a B plan and a C plan. If we think about this with no alternatives,
Alternatifsiz diye düşünürsek yanlış yapmış oluruz. Dolayısıyla Türkiye gibi 80
Share
milyonluk
it with me now.
bir ülkenin yani
we'd be making a
böyle
mistake.
bir, alternatifsizlik
And it's not possible for a country like Turkey
ama biz
to have no
özellikle
alternatives.
siyasi
We
ortağımıza
trust
bu
in our
noktada
political
güveniyoruz
partner,
ve siyasi
and we want our
ortağımızdan da
political partner
o
to give that a proper response.
güvendiğimizin karşılığını görmek, bulmak istiyoruz. Şu ana kadar da yaptığımız
We hope and pray
görüşmelerde
they won't make a
bu
mistake.
istikamette bize açıklamalarda bulunuyorlar. Temenni ederim ki bir yanlışlık olmasın.
I think what actually comes through very clearly. Another area where you are working as an ally in America is, of course, Syria. And you have put Turkish troops into the country. You're constructing a buffer zone, which seems to be about as big as the Grand Canyon, to protect refugees. We had an American-Russian peace plan, which you supported. Over the past week, that seems to be coming apart, with each side accusing the other. You would seem to be an honest broker who could say who is to blame for this plan coming apart. Is it America's fault or is it Russia's?
Şimdi burada tabii özellikle
We have to determine a truth.
tespit etmemiz lazım.
Neither America
Şu anda
nor Russia is as close to Syria as we
ne
are.
Amerika bizim kadar yakındır, ne Rusya bizim kadar yakındır.
We have a 911
Suriye ile sınırımız
kilometer border
911
with Syria.
kilometre.
Aside from that
911
911 kilometer
sınırın
border,
dışında bizim özellikle
we have
sınır
citizens,
boylarındaki
especially living in around the border
yaşayan
cities,
vatandaşlarımızın
who have
Suriye'nin
family ties
sınır
in Syria.
boylarında yaşayan Suriye halkıyla
We're
akrabalık
that
bağları var.
close together.
O kadar biz iç içe
But despite all this,
fakat bütün bunlara
Syria
rağmen
is
öyle
mixed
veya
up.
böyle Suriye şu anda
of
karışık
course,
durumda.
it's not just Syria.
Tabii sadece
Iraq is
Suriye
also
mi?
like
Hayır,
that.
Irak da öyle.
And what's being said
Şimdi
to bring down the
söylenen
Daesh
ne?
terrorist
Suriye'deki
organization in
DAEŞ
Syria.
terör örgütünü
Okay.
çökertmek. Peki
What are we going to bring down the
örgütünü
Daesh terrorist
neyle
organization with?
çökerteceğiz?
Now,
Şimdi
when we look at
Amerika'ya
America,
baktığımız zaman
they're saying
diyorlar ki
PYD,
PYD,
YPG. We're going to bring it
bunlarla
down with them.
çökerteceğiz.
And as the coalition
Ve
countries,
koalisyon
how
güçleri
many
olarak
countries are in Syria?
kaç ülke var?
There
Şu
are
anda
65
Suriye'de
countries.
65 ülke var.
We say, look,
Diyoruz ki
this
bakın bu
PYD,
PYD,
YPG, they're also a terrorist
bunlar da terör
organization.
örgütüdür. Yani bir
Does
terör
one terrorist
örgütü
organization
bir başka
get taken
terör
out
örgütüyle
by another terrorist
çökertilir.
organization?
Yanlış yapılıyor.
It's being done wrong.
Şimdi En-Nusra
Even today, you had the US Defense Secretary talking about continuing to support the YPG. Is that sounds like that is a source of great concern for you?
endişe kaynağı.
It's a source of
Mesela
concern.
3 gün önce
For example, 3 days
Amerika
ago, America landed 2 planes full of weapons.
Nereye?
Where?
Kobani'ye.
In Kobani.
Kime?
To whom? To the PYD and YPG.
YPG'ye.
So they're committing a grave wrong before the eyes of the world. Now, Al-Nusra is a terrorist organization. And Al-Nusra is also fighting against Daesh. If those who are fighting against Daesh aren't terrorists, then Al-Nusra also isn't terrorist. But PYD, YPG, these are the stillborn children of the PKK terrorist organization in my country. They're together. They're the same. And we say, since there are 65 countries in the coalition, let's get together. Let's bring down Daesh. Have no doubt, together we'd do it. But if you get up and distinguish amongst terrorists, you're harming Turkey. Because we're disturbed by this terrorist group that you're defending. They constitute a threat to our country. By giving them weapons, you're strengthening this threat to our future. We reached an agreement with the President, with Ms. Merkel, with Mr. Hollande, and I talked about this even with Mr. Putin, on a secure zone. When we say, come, let's take a step, unfortunately this step isn't taken. What we want is for housing to be built in accordance with local architecture, along with social facilities, so that the Syrian people no longer leave. But this step wasn't taken. But we're determined. What happened? In Gaziantep, when 56 people were killed by a Daesh suicide bomber, we said, this is enough. We're going in. And with the moderate opposition, we supported them, and we went into Jarablus. Then we went into Al Rai, and now we're going toward Al Bab. And that region we're talking about needs to be solved. And that's what we're trying to do. We have to succeed. Our friends may understand this, or they may not. But we've taken this step with the Syrian people, and we're going to continue. The same thing, of course, also applies within our borders. But there's a problem there, and I believe we'll overcome this problem.
Aynı şey tabii bizim sınırlarımızın içinde de geçerli. Orada da sıkıntı var. Bu sıkıntıyı da kararlılıkla aşacağız. Buna da inanıyorum.
Just on the subject of Russia and America just then, I asked you at the beginning who was to blame for what had happened in the past week more.
Ona gelince bu son olayda yani Birleşmiş
I'm of the belief that the one who bombed that UN convoy was the regime.
İnancındayım. Yani bunu bizzat
the regime bombed it itself. That's what the intelligence coming to us indicates. And then right after that, we have this aid being delivered by our Red Crescent. After this, our people couldn't go in, and they had to postpone. That's the situation.
Bunu böyle biliyoruz ve hemen arkasında da zaten bizim insani yardım taşıyan Kızılay'ımız vardı. Bu hadise olunca bizimkiler girmedi ve böylece ertelemiş oldular bu yardım. Böyle bir durum söz konusu.
Can I ask you about the election here? As you know, it is going on. You have, I think, personally called for Donald Trump's name to be taken off a building in Istanbul, which, like many other buildings, is named after him. Can we deduce from that you would tend to rather have Hillary Clinton on the other end of the telephone in January?
Şu anda tabii ben
of course, I can't disrespect the will of the American people.
Halkının iradesine saygısızlık yapamam. Yani
it would be disrespectful to my own democratic concept for me to go on one of America's most powerful television channels and make some statement saying I support this or I don't support that.
Demokratik anlayışıma
this is
da
wrong.
Saygısızlık olarak görürüm ve bu yanlıştır ve herhangi bir siyasi kalkıp da benim düşüncelerime ters ifadeler kullandıysa bunun tabii değerlendirmesini yine Amerikan halkı yapacaktır. Seçimlerden sonra uygun bir platformda bir araya geldiğimizde bunların değerlendirmesini yaparız.
So if Donald Trump wins, maybe you would allow his name to remain on the building.
O tabii bir hukuki
This is a legal issue.
Bu konuyla
That firm
ilgili
made its
olarak
negotiations with Trump,
o firma Trump'la
but
görüşmelerini
probably
yaptı.
they didn't do the
Ama
contract
tabii
in the right way.
sözleşmeyi herhalde pek doğru
And they're
yapmadılar.
continuing
Karşılıklı
negotiations to
anlaşmayla
come to some
çözme
mutual
noktasında
understanding.
görüşmeleri
Of course, I have
onların,
this characteristic.
devam ediyor.
I've been
Tabii,
serving 14 years,
Benim öyle bir
and this
özelliğim
14
var
years,
ki 14
I worked with
yıl
Republicans.
tabii bir görev yaptım.
I've also worked with
Ve bu
Democrats.
14 yıl içerisinde
When
ben,
I first came on duty,
Cumhuriyetçilerle de
I
çalıştım.
worked with Mr. Bush.
Demokratlarla da çalıştım. Göreve ilk geldiğimde
Later, I
ben
worked in
Sayın
the same
Bush'la
way with Mr. Obama for
beraber
8 years.
Çalışmamız olmuştu. Daha sonra Sayın Obama
Of
ile
course,
8 yıl
from the new year,
yine aynı şekilde
we'll see.
çalışmamız oldu. Şimdi tabii artık yılbaşından itibaren
and
nasıl
accordingly,
bir
we'll continue
portre
our work with America.
ortaya çıkacak, onu göreceğiz ve ona göre
It's
de
out of the question for us
Amerika ile
to break,
olan
split from
çalışmalarımızı
America.
devam ettireceğiz. Yani Amerika ile bizim
Continuity
kopmamız
is
böyle bir
fundamental in
zaten söz
politics.
konusu olamaz. Siyasette devamlılık esastır. Bunu böyle bilmemiz lazım.
Particularly, the issue of the purge keeps coming up. They keep on seeing the number of people who've been put in jail or been removed from different places. There are lots of different issues within that, but just to ask you one particular one, which is obviously close to my heart, the freedom of the press. You have more than 120 people, journalists in jail, which is more than pretty much any other country. You genuinely think that those are all people who are either terrorists or criminals? Is that the reason why they are there, or is Turkey going too hard on the press?
Her şeyden önce medyayla ilgili
Before
bu
anything
verdiğiniz
else,
rakamlar
these figures you've
doğru
given
rakamlar değil.
about media aren't correct.
Yani
I have to say this
şunu bir
very
defa
clearly.
çok açık net söylemem
Whenever
lazım.
some media member is
Amerika'da
arrested in the United
herhangi
States,
bir medya mensubu içeri
I
alındığı
can't get up
zaman
and blame
ben
the
rahatlıkla,
administration
Amerika'nın
Why?
yönetimini suçlayamam.
because the judiciary made
Niye?
such a decision.
Amerika'da yargı
and we
böyle bir
respect
karar
that.
vermiş ve
Do
verdiği
media members
karara da
have
saygı
some special
duyuyoruz.
feature
Şimdi
that they can't
yani,
commit a crime?
medya mensuplarının
They also commit crimes.
suç işlemez diye
For
bir
example,
özelliği var
If
mı?
a media member,
Onlar da suç işliyorlar.
with their writings,
Örneğin
with the
bir
headlines
darbe
they send,
girişimini
supported a coup attempt within our legal system, this is a crime.
attıkları başlıklarla
And since this is a
destekliyorsa,
crime,
bizim hukuk
the
sistemimiz
price has to
içerisinde
be paid.
bu suçtur. Ve bu suç
When a
olduğuna
politician
göre
commits
de
a crime,
bunun bedelini
they pay the
ödemesi
price.
gerekir. Yani siyasetçi
Why shouldn't
suç
some member
işlediği
of the
zaman
media pay the
bedelini
price?
ödüyor. Ve o bedelini ödüyor
But
da
the one who gives the punishment
herhangi bir
isn't
medya
me,
mensubu
it's the
niye
court.
ödemesin?
And aside from that, there are columnists who support armed terrorist
Cezasını veren
organizations.
yargı.
There are
Yargı
journalists who've been
hangi
caught with
konuşmada,
weapons.
hangi açıklamada, hangi yazıda, hatta bunların dışında
Are they not going to pay for it?
silahlı terör örgütlerine destek veren,
This is what the
köşe
judiciary
yazarları
is
var.
doing in Turkey now.
Silahlı olarak yakalanan
Those who have been laid off,
gazeteciler
those who
var.
have left their
Yani
positions,
bunlar bir bedel
it
ödemeyecek.
doesn't just happen overnight or arbitrarily.
Yani şimdi şu
Right
anda
now,
yargının
the
da
judiciary,
yaptığı Türkiye'de
along with the police forces and intelligence agency,
alınanlar,
they're following the process.
görevden ayrılanlar, bütün bunlar durup dururken
Turkey,
olmuyor.
on July
Şu anda
15,
yargı, emniyet teşkilatı ile beraber,
experienced a
istihbarat
very
teşkilatı
serious
ile
blow.
beraber yoğun bir çalışmanın
We're
içerisinde
experiencing
bu
such
süreci
things.
takip
The
ediyorlar. Çünkü
PKK is a
Türkiye
terrorist
15
organization.
Temmuz'da
Can a member of the PKK
Çok
terrorist
ciddi bir
organization be a
darbe
policeman?
yemiştir. Demokrasimiz
Can they be an
darbe
official in
yemiştir.
any state office?
Ben isterim ki dünya medyası
In the same fashion,
denli
can they be from Al
bir
Qaeda?
demokrasi
from Daesh?
darbesi yemiş
What's
olan
happening now is that the
demokrasisine
judiciary,
yönelik,
in cooperation with the
anayasal
police,
düzenine yönelik
is rounding them up
böyle bir
and doing
darbe
what's necessary.
girişimini
That's what's happening.
püskürtmüş olan Türkiye'ye karşı dünya medyası sahiplensin. Ama dünya medyası hala sahiplenmiyor. Hala bakıyoruz hesap soruyor. Önce dünya medyası kendisini bir defa hesaba çekmesi lazım. Mesela öyle şeyler yaşıyoruz ki PKK terör örgütü. PKK terör örgütünden şu anda polis memuru olabilir mi? Veya devlet dairesinde herhangi bir memur olabilir mi? Aynı şekilde El-Kaide'den olabilir mi? DAEŞ'ten olabilir mi? Bunların hepsini emniyet ne yapıyor şimdi? Yargıyla el ele vermek suretiyle topluyor ve gereğini yapıyor. Olay bu.
I think the arguments are more to do whether it's to do with insults and things like this. You are a very robust politician yourself. You're quite capable of occasionally criticizing people, like the rating agencies, like your opponents. And yet sometimes when journalists do that, they tend to get fall foul of laws, and people look at you and see, here is a man who can win elections very easily without this, and maybe that is going too far. It seems to be more about that than the issue of terrorism.
Şimdi şunu söyleyeyim ben de, yani bir defa
As a politician, we've never been close to criticism. We're always open to criticism. But I'm asking, can you say yes to insult? If a journalist is insulting a president, if they're insulting a prime minister, if they're insulting a minister, if they're insulting his family, there's got to be a response. Okay, so the politician is going to bear it. The politician is going to tolerate it, eh? And the media member isn't going to pay a price? It's not possible to have such a freedom. Freedom goes until it crosses over into another person, a second person's realm of freedom. When it enters the area of another person's freedom, it's an assault on freedom. And when you assault freedom, there of course there will be a price.
Can I ask you one other thing on the Gulenists and the central banks? Previously, you used to, members of your government as well, used to point towards the central bank and say, look, the central bank is run by people who are hostile to the regime. Do you feel much happier now that there is no Gulenist influence on the central bank as you see it?
Yani Merkez Bankası'nda
I can't know right now who has what kind of influence in the central bank. But if our police or judiciary have determined Gulenist or FETÖ terrorist organization members inside the central bank, then they removed them from duty. And they need to remove them. An important place like the central bank needs to be cleaned of them. It needs to be purified of them. If they've done it, the judiciary has done it. And that's the right step.
Can I finish with a couple of questions about your future? I look at you as President of Turkey. I know you have a number of years left in your term. You would like to increase the powers of the president. Exactly. You would like to increase the powers of the president.
seçim hakkım daha var.
If I still have to or hold another round of elections after this, I can be elected again.
You can be elected again, but it strikes me that given the fact that it looks difficult to get the extra powers for the president, you might be able to do more if you were prime minister. Would you ever think about going back to that job?
Şimdi bunları zaman belirler. Şu anda Cumhurbaşkanlığı makamındayım. Ve Cumhurbaşkanlığı makamında memleketime hizmet ediyorum. 3 yıl var. 3 yılın içerisinde neler olur, neler olmaz belli değil. Bakın 15 Temmuz gecesi bu teröristler beni öldürmüş olabilirlerdi. Ve şu anda sizin karşınızda olmayabilirdim. Ama onlar bunu başaramadılar. Değil mi? Ve şu anda sizinle beraberim. Önümüzde 3 yıl var. Zaman erken. Biz şimdi ülkemize, milletimize, hükümetimizle beraber hizmete devam edeceğiz. Ve Allah ömür verirse bu hizmette de milletimizin hayır dualarını inşallah alacağız.
You will have now led Turkey for roughly 13 years, longer than many people. Do you think of a life beyond this, that it is possible to imagine Turkey not being in some way ruled or led by you?
Olabilir tabii. İnsanlar kalıcı değil. Hepimiz gideceğiz. Ama temenni ederim ki ondan sonra sizlerle oturur bir program daha yaparız.
We'll look forward to discussing Fenerbahçe. Mr. President, thank you very much for talking to Bloomberg. Thank you.
Thank you.